Are you seeking fulfillment for your life? Do you want freedom from fear? That's why we're here. Welcome to Jesus 101, introducing you to the real Jesus. And now, here's your host, Elizabeth Talbot.
Welcome to Jesus 101. We continue with our awesome series. And I say awesome because I love these stories. The series is entitled, The Battle is the Lord's. And we have been going through several battles in the Bible, learning a lot about who God is and who we are in Him. Today we have the battle of exhaustion. When you're exhausted, you don't have one more to give. And people say, oh, just pray one more time and just hang in there one more time. And you say, I don't have one more. And we're going to talk about that battle of exhaustion. And to help us, we have Pastor Massiel. How are you?
I'm well. You know, sometimes I feel like exhaustion is my middle name. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I think the last little while in the season that we're finishing, it's been exhausting.
Yeah,
Collectively,
well,
we're
the
exhausted.
pandemic and this and that. And, you know, I Googled exhaustion just to see what was going to come out in the images of Google. And they were all drawings and photos of people going like this.
Yes, bags under your eyes.
Yeah, and most people like just giving in to that exhaustion on their desk or on a sofa or somewhere like, oh, I can't.
So how do we battle? How do we fight when we're exhausted?
And this is why it's so important that we're doing a series that the battle is the Lord's. Sometimes we forget and we want to keep pressing on when we have not one more left, right? And God says, come to me and I will give you rest.
I say to myself that passage over and over.
Yeah. And this is a battle that we're going to study today that is not that known, and I think is my favorite battle of the whole series. It's called the Brook Besor battle, and we're gonna discuss it, and you will learn a lot of things. And again, please bring your Bible because this is we're gonna go real fast through several chapters. We are still in 1 Samuel. We're gonna start on chapter 27. And before we get started, I want to show you our drawing for this battle. You know that we have drawings for each battle. And this one has a group of people that is just kind of sitting and waiting on one side of the river. And the other group is coming back from battle with the spoils and the booty. And so what's going to happen with this? Some were too exhausted to go on. And so we're going to talk about it. It's a fantastic story that we have in the Bible. And it teaches us something about salvation as well. So let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 27. This is a bad season for David. David, who fought Goliath, and he was the champion of Israel.
Yeah.
After being persecuted by the king of Israel for so many years because the king was jealous of David, David just doesn't have one more.
How many, I'm sure people involuntarily put their hand up when you said that.
Yeah.
Because you go from these incredible victories to this despair, and you're left with nothing.
And David is in such a bad place that he decides he's going to escape Israel. And look where he goes. Chapter 27, let's start with verse 1.
Okay. But David thought to himself, one of these days I will be destroyed by the hand of Saul. The best thing I can do is to escape to the land of the Philistines. Then Saul will give up searching for me anywhere in Israel, and I will slip out of his hand.
Yes, imagine I'm going to go to the Philistines, but don't say what you're about to say. Don't say that because it's in verse 2.
Okay.
You're going to read it, then we can discuss. Go ahead.
Okay. So David and his 600 men with him left and went over to Achish, son of Maoch, king of Gath.
King of Gath. So he's not only going to go to the Philistines, which were the people that he fought with Goliath, right? But he's going to go to the king of Gath. And Goliath, the big giant that he has defeated a few chapters ago, he's going to go to his town.
Can you imagine what kind of state he must have been in that is where he's finding refuge from his own king?
His own enemy, the city where Goliath came from, that's where David's going to say, look, my king is crazy, so I'm coming to ask for refuge from you. And, he's doing all kinds of weird things. He he says, I'm with you now. I'm with you guys, Philistines. So he's
Sorry about Goliath, but
yeah. Sorry about Goliath. And people know who he is.
mercy.
So they're saying, is he not the one that killed Goliath? And David says, don't worry, I'm with you this time. And he's in a down spiral. It's one of he's pretending, he's lying, he's covering his lies with bloodshed.
Mercy.
So he's living a different life. He's hiding under a mask. And I brought some masks for us to wear them right now. So do you think, Massiel, that you have ever lived with a mask for a while?
Of course. Sometimes you're afraid to show how exhausted or discouraged you are. I think in the roles that we're in, sometimes we feel like we have to pretend.
Yes, and some of you know, because I have told it in different programs, that I went through a divorce from my first husband many years ago. It sounds like a different life because now I've been married to my second husband for more than 20 years. But I remember these masks. I remember going to church. How are you doing? I'm doing fine. And, where is your husband? It's like, he's not feeling good. This type of thing where you are wearing masks because you can't really tell anybody what's going on with you.
Yes.
And so David is wearing a mask. And he's looking happy, but he's not. And because he cannot deny his own country, he's going and making raids within the Philistine country, but and taking over towns because he's still fighting for Israel, but he can't let them know that he's betraying the Philistine. So he says that he covers all his lies with blood. And verse 11 says that he would not leave any man or woman alive when he was doing those things, so that nobody could come to Gath and say, hey, David is attacking us, not Israel. So this is a down spiral for David.
So he's feeling discouraged. He's running away. He's making mistakes. And honestly, that's what we do. It's not even just the wearing the mask in our lives.
Yes.
It's all of the things that we're doing to hide ourselves,
Yes.
hide our grief, hide our sorrow, hide our own pain.
Verse 7 says that he was there. He lived in the country of the Philistines 1 year and 4 months, 16 months. And we don't have any psalm from that time from
Mercy.
David. It's almost like he lost his voice during those 16 months, where he was pretending that everything was okay when it really wasn't.
It's authentic, though, to him, because as he's living that way, where would the inspiration come from? These cries out to God, these celebrations to God.
Yes.
He doesn't have that.
Yes. He's been running for so long that he has forgotten that he's a man after God's own heart.
Yeah.
And
16 months, that's an important time. That's about how long
Yes.
the pandemic impacted us.
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting? And right before verse 7, on verse 6, we're told that the king of Gath, Achish, gave him a town for his people. Don't forget that he had like a little, his own little army that lived with him, 600 men and their families. And the king gave them a city called Ziklag. He says, okay, you can take this city here in the territory of the Philistines, and you can have your place there with your people and help us when there is a war against Israel. Please help us. He doesn't know what David's doing, taking over all these little places but killing everybody so nobody can say it's him. Yeah. So he is in a bad place, but it's going to get worse. Chapter 29 tells us at one point they went to war with Israel, and David showed up like, I'm one of you guys, right? And the other commanders said, hey, this is the David who killed Goliath. We don't want with him. What if in the middle of the battle he turns on us? And the king goes, I'm sorry, David. I know you're very faithful to me, and I know you're one of the Philistines now, but these people don't trust. And of course, they were right.
Correct, yes.
They were right.
They had a better sense of him than commanders.
And so he has to go back to his own town of Ziklag again. When he gets there, something has gone really bad. Not only is he not belonging to the Philistine, he doesn't belong in Israel or in the Philistine. Not only has he been lying, not only has been killing, but now look what happens. Chapter 30, we're going to start on verse 1.
David and his men reached Ziklag on the third day. Now the Amalekites had raided the Negev and Ziklag. They had attacked Ziklag and burned it, and had taken captive the women and all who were in it, both young and old. They killed none of them, but carried them off as they went on their way.
So at the moment when David is over there, seemingly saying that he's going to fight against Israel, which of course he wasn't going to go or do anything against Israel, and the people say, no, you got to go back because we don't trust you. He comes back to his own town, and they have burned down his whole town. No more Ziklag.
Right.
But on top of that, they have taken all their wives, all their children hostage.
It's interesting to me that there is mercy shown to David that he doesn't show to the people around him.
Yeah, because they don't kill everybody like he's killing
he's
everybody.
not trying to, they're just taking, in a reasonable way almost, prisoners. But
That's right.
David hasn't even been doing that.
But then David, look, when you're exhausted and you get one more of whatever is happening and you're like, I cannot take this anymore.
much.
You know, this person is sick in my family. My kid is doing this. Now my sister is in jail, and now you're going to tell me I have cancer? It's like this thing, and you're going, where's the bottom? I need to hit bottom because I'm just going crazy.
That metaphor of battle, we can fight one battle, but when it's all of them at once,
yes,
there's too
and
much.
So here they're exhausted, so exhausted that this men of war do something that we were not expecting them to do. Let's read verses 3 and 4 together.
When David and his men came to Ziklag, they found it destroyed by fire and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. So David and his men wept aloud until they had no strength left to weep.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
Yes.
I've been there.
Yeah. So maybe today you are there and you're saying, I am that exhausted that I have been weeping for years and months and I just don't have one more tear left. When people say, hang in there one more time, I have nothing left to say, you know. I remember a situation that I'm never going to forget. I was talking about something similar to this, and I came across a book of prayers. And there were prayers that were like gut-wrenching prayers. And one of them was a prayer of a single mother. And it was quite a prayer. It was like, Lord, everybody has two to take care of the kids. I am on my own. And people say, I have to trust you. One more prayer, one more day. And I don't have one more left. And it was so, So I brought that prayer to the church. I was preaching. And I asked a single mother in the audience to come up and read the prayer.
Oh, my.
So she goes, okay, I'll do it. And she started, and I think she was in the second sentence when she started bawling. She was like, I can't. She started crying and she's like, can't go on.
Wow.
You know, so she knew exactly what this meant.
It wasn't just a practice for her. It was all of her feelings, all of her words.
Yes.
Wow.
And anyways, everybody's crying here, weeping. And when you think that David has hit bottom here, now the people turn against him, his own people, his own 600 men.
Lower.
Lower and lower and lower on this. And it says here, verse 6, David was greatly distressed because the people spoke of stoning him, for all the people were embittered, each one because of his own sons and his daughters. But there's a but.
Oh, my senior pastor wants to write a book called The Great Buts of the Bible.
Yes.
And this is one of them.
This is one of them, the neverthelesses of the Bible, where it says, nevertheless,
yes,
but, and it says here, but what?
David found strength in the Lord, his God.
He remembered.
Yes.
He remembered who his God was. He had been hiding behind his masks for 16 months. He had been doing all these weird things, lying, doing all this. And now his men are turning after the whole town was burned down and the wives were taken.
Yep.
And now he remembers his God.
And we see that he also remembers that he is a man after God's own heart because he does something that people have failed to do in the other stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
What does he do?
He goes and he inquires of God. He asks for the ephod to inquire of God.
Yeah.
Should I do this?
Yeah. So go ahead.
The spiral, that's it. We think that we have to come back or apologize or we have to atone ourselves, but that's not the battle. That's not our battle to win.
No.
And so he knows where to go.
That's why sometimes when we hit bottom, it's a good place because we don't have any more down to go, right? So we look up and we say, oh, I have a God this is his battle. He's going to give me strength and whatever is needed. And we're going to see what David does at this moment. The ephod that you mentioned, the ephod, was something that usually the high priest wore. It was a way that God communicated with people through answers of yes or no on this, So umim, how do you say it in English? Umim and tumim? The two.
I say it also in Spanish in my head.
Umim and tumim.
Umim.
Yeah, these two ways that God would communicate yes or no, you know. So he says, should I go after them? Should I really do this?
Yeah.
And God says, go. And God
Pursue
says,
them.
yeah, let's do it because I'm
Yes.
with you and you will be able to
Certainly
do.
overtake them and
Exactly.
succeed in the rescue.
Yeah, this is 1 Samuel 30, verse 8 at the end. Pursue, for you will surely overtake them and you will surely rescue all of them. And David said, let's go.
Let's go.
So we're going to pause for a moment and try to think, what was David thinking at this moment?
Okay, God, it's time to talk. I have hit rock bottom, and there seems to be no way out. I have been hiding for so long. I can't even remember what it's like to be young and free. No songs come to my lips. No melodies spring from my soul. To be honest, after Goliath, everything seems to have just gone downhill. Things got so bad, I had to take refuge with the king of Gath, the very place Goliath was from. I don't know what happened. I thought everything would work out after I was anointed king, but it hasn't. Between rock and a hard place, just no man's land. I've been living in the enemy's camp for 16 months. Two-faced. Blood on my hands. I've been lying, cheating, killing. And is there still hope for me? As if that wasn't enough, I came home today to find our town had been burnt to the ground. All the women and the children gone. I've cried till I had no more tears. I am exhausted. So that was my men, the 600 who have been with me through thick and thin. They want to stone me. I am exhausted. I'm low. I come to you for strength. And I come to you for guidance. Please tell me, should we pursue the people who took our wives and children? Will you give us victory in this battle? I will not go unless you're by my side. I know I don't deserve it, but you promised your presence, even for someone as broken as me. Just tell me if you'll be with us, Lord. I need your guidance. Please. Give me clear guidance. Please, make me a man after your own heart.
David is ready. Now he has the assurance of God, that God is with him, and he's like, let's go get our wives and children and get everybody back.
Yeah.
He knows he's God. He has been with God before. He knows that God can give strength to the exhausted.
Yes.
And so what happens is, let's tell this story. This is 1 Samuel chapter 30, verses 9 and 10.
David and the 600 men with him came to the Besor ravine when some stayed behind, for 200 men were too exhausted to cross the ravine. But David and 400 men continued the pursuit.
Okay, so here we go to these places where I love this battle. That's why we call it the Brook Besor. Now look at our drawing again. So the drawing is a group of men, in this case 200, are so exhausted. I mean, how exhausted do you have to be to give up the search for your family?
Yeah.
These are
that's
men
so
that have
true.
been, going back and forth. They cried, they came back, they saw everything burned down, and they said, let's go get our wives and children. And they're like, we're too exhausted. We cannot go on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to be really exhausted to give up the search for your family,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So 200 men, and that's where the drawing shows, on the right-hand side, people kind of sitting down by the river, right? 200 men stay by the Brook Besor, and 400 keep going. They find an Egyptian that tells them where the rest of the people are, where they have taken who is also exhausted.
Yeah, he was
Everybody's
left for
exhausted
dead.
in this story. And they said, okay, we won't kill you if you tell us who burned Ziklag. And so they actually go and they get everything back. In the strength of the Lord gives them strength. And okay, let's read the victory, the recovery. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verses 18 to 20.
Sure. David recovered everything the Amalekites had taken, including his 2 wives. Nothing was missing, young or old, boy or girl, plunder, or anything else they had taken. David brought everything back. He took all the flocks and the herds, and his men drove them ahead of the other livestock, saying, this is David's plunder.
Yeah, so not only they bring back all their families, but spoils. And so I don't know if you saw my beautiful spoils here.
They are
I bought
very
more.
shiny.
Yes, that's right. But something is about to happen here that I think we all need to learn. And this is where David showed that he was a man after God's own heart, even though he had been lost for a few months.
Yes.
He has learned a principle that he's going to implement in this battle when he comes back with the spoil. Because what happens is they're coming back and they find the 200 men in the river and the little brook that had been too exhausted to go with them and has stayed with all the baggage or whatever they call their property there for the army. And they were too exhausted. They stayed by the brook. And some people don't want to divide with them the spoils. They said, hey, they should be happy we got their wives and their children back. We're not going to share, right? So let's read it. Chapter 30, verse 21.
Then David came to the 200 men who had been too exhausted to follow him and who were left behind at Besor ravine. They came out to meet David and the people with him. As David and his men approached, he greeted them. But all the evil men and troublemakers among David's followers said, hey, because they didn't go with us, we will not share with them the plunder who we recovered. However, they can take their wives and children and go.
And they should be happy about that. We're not going to share with them the booty that we got from this. They're too exhausted. They stayed behind. What kind of thing is this? That we're going to fight and they're going to get part of the spoil if they stayed by? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you can't take them home.
Okay. So don't get too attached.
Well, no, let me share the principle here, right? I'm going to, there you go. David says something that is so amazing, so amazing that we all need to remember this because this is the way salvation works. Okay, so let's read it. Verse 23, David answers those wicked and worthless men that said, no, we won the battle, so this is not for them. They can get their wives or we get the spoil. David said this, verse 23, you must not do so, my brothers, with what the Lord, and this is the name of God here in the Hebrew, with what Yahweh, our God, has given us, who has kept us and delivered us into our hands the band that came against us. He says, don't you understand? The battle wasn't ours. Whose was the battle?
Battle is the Lord's.
Yeah, and David said, you're not going to work that way with something that God gave us. This was not something we earned. And so he says, verse 24, and who will listen to you in this matter, David says, for as his share is who goes down to the battle, so shall his share be who stays by the baggage. They shall all share alike. So it has been from that day forward that he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel to this day, that the one who fights and the one who stays, they all get part of the spoils.
You know, it's something that in his exhaustion, in his despair, even in his spiral,
You learn about
he
God.
was transformed.
Yes.
Transformed so that he still has grace and mercy for the
Yes.
people who are in that same
Yes,
place.
yes, for the exhausted.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, he starts sending part of the booty, if you keep reading, to everywhere. He sends to Judah, he sends gifts to this and that, because this was not our battle. He says, this was the Lord's battle, so we're going to share the spoils with everybody. Because this is not, okay. Let some more people get some.
All right, you're right.
And this is a principle that is very important. Salvation works this way. That's why Jesus said in one of the most beautiful verses, you know Matthew 11?
Yeah.
Is a beautiful verse.
My favorite.
Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30. What did Jesus say? What invitation does he give us?
Underlined in every color I have. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
So for those who were exhausted trying to earn their salvation, Jesus says, come to me and I will give you rest. This became so important for me that it became my PhD dissertation. I will give you rest. And I wanted to choose a cover, and this is a little booklet I wrote, I Will Give You Rest, the eternal gospel for the weary soul. And I finally found the painting that I wanted, and I told the publisher, I really want this particular graphic. This painter really captured it. This little girl coming to the arms of Jesus and kind of resting there. And one day, my friend Janine had a big surprise for me, and it's the big picture that you see behind me. She took the cover of my book and she made it into a picture, and I was like, that is so perfect, because salvation works this way. Salvation is for the exhausted. You don't earn your salvation. And if you have been tired of people saying, you got to do this and that and that and that to earn your salvation, Jesus says, no. Come to me and I will give you rest. I've done everything for you. And the same way that salvation works, as we are learning in these battles, our daily life works the same way.
And what hits us more in our daily lives than exhaustion? Because it comes to all of us, this exhaustion, this
and in many
spiral.
reasons. Sometimes we are tired of trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Sometimes we're tired of an addiction. Sometimes we're tired of taking care of a parent that is elderly, or maybe you have a handicapped kid and you're saying, I can't do this anymore. I don't have one more. And the same invitation that God gives all of us for salvation, come to me and I will give you rest because I do for you what you cannot do for yourself, is the same invitation that God gives us when we are exhausted in daily life. And he says, come to me and I will give you rest. So this is the battle of exhaustion, when we think that we have to make this happen and we don't have one more left. And Jesus says, rest in me. I've done everything that was needed for your salvation, and I will do what is needed for your current situation. Rest in me. After all, we always have to remember that this battle and every other battle is the Lord's. The battle is the Lord's.